critical race theory, otherwise known as critical theory, is a Marxist ideology designed to separate the population into distinct groups or subcategories based on what in modern terms is called sectionality. In other words, individuals in a group can be separated out from the larger group based on individual characteristics of that individual that make it unique from the other individuals, though there may be some cross-sectionality with individuals of other groups. I know that's a mouthful, so now I will explain. The Frankfurt School. The Frankfurt School started in Germany right after the Second World War. Probably started in 1945 by a man named Herbert Marcuse. Herbert Marcuse was a communist Nazi who was not thrown in jail or subject to the Nuremberg trials after the Second World War, after the Allies subdued the Axis forces. And he started a school. They called it the Frankfurt School. And the objective was to teach Marxism and communism. And he gathered there with him other prominent Nazis and communists who escaped the retaliations of the victorious Allied forces. Okay, so we got the Marxist school, known as the Frankfurt School, and this is where critical theory started. I was personally introduced to Marxism in my teens. I began studying Marx and reading Marx when I was about 18 years old. I'd read something before that, but in earnest I was studying from the age of 18. And though critical theory, as I can recall, was not mentioned, it was by name, it was not mentioned by name, it was clarified that the working class, members of the working class, actual working people, because of their position in society, were de facto separate, a separate group, a section of society, a class of society, and due to their unique ability to interpret the world correctly because of their connection to it, their direct connection to the world through labor. Labor as a Marxist term, as a misunderstood Marxist term, that through their labor and their connection with the world, that in itself gives them a greater ability to interpret ultimately the universe correctly, either correctly or more correctly than any other subsection or class, in particular the ruling class. The ruling class would be most lacking of all to be able to interpret society and reality as it really is. And that, in essence, is critical thinking. Why is that important? Well, it's very important. Now, if I had fallen for the trap, being a working class chap myself, had I fallen into that philosophical doldrums I would have begun to interpret that everywhere I saw the world in conflict with the upper class, or even with any other class, I would assuredly know that my interpretation, along with my brother workers, would be the correct one. And that's an absurdity. It is not our position in society that gives us the ability to interpret reality. It might sometimes give us an ability to deal with reality, because our interpretation of reality is not always a representation of how we deal with reality. Our dealings with reality are subsumed to our economic status, our position in society, but our thoughts are not. Our thoughts are free. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 coming up here. I love you folks. I'll be back. Talk to you soon.